Unsyndicated presents Off the Air with Sean Belegian.
Just a random Sunday afternoon in February. I mean, what else do you have to do? Wings are playing later. More on that in just a second. Glad you can join us. I'm Sean Belegian. Of course, my pal Blake hit the bell from the Mitch Albom Show on 760 WJR and Sports Wrap. Kindly joining us as well today. Glad you are, whether you're checking us out live. A lot of people listen after the fact. Just listen. You know, I think we're doing a pretty good job, Blake. I mean, I'm biased, but I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. I mean, we have to deal with your idiocracy, but, you know, besides that, it's going pretty well.
We've established that, and I have no problem owning that. Yes, absolutely. There's a level of idiocy that I roll with every day that, you know, I think kind of makes me me.
And I don't want people to think that I'm some genius. I'm just as much of an idiot, if not a bigger idiot. Well, I'm incredibly stupid.
So here's the secret to this endeavor. I've surrounded myself with idiots.
Yes.
So, I mean, here we are, just a bunch of idiots, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, so I need to bring this up for one specific reason, to kind of start the show, if you will. Blake, the number one tell for me that the Red Wings are capturing the imagination of people out there is when I start getting text messages about the Red Wings from people like you.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want you, most importantly, or anybody else to think that I'm being condescending about that, because I'm not. But honest to goodness, that is the number one reason to me that shows me that people are way into the Red Wings. And I base this on the fact that I've done a few radio shows in my life. I was doing radio shows back in 1995. I did radio shows in Detroit all the way up until just a few months ago, okay? All kinds of stations, you know, specifically the sports stations. And at the end of the day, when the non-hockey elite want to talk about the Red Wings, that tells me something special is going on, because I'm always going to get a text from, like, say, Mike about a game that's going on. I'm always going to get a text from the fellow members of the hockey elite, right? Blake, you are not a member of the hockey elite. Blake and I will talk about college football 12 months of the year, especially like after 11 o'clock on Saturday night during college football. We'll talk about a myriad of other things. Blake will share his degenerate bets with me, but we don't talk about what the Red Wings are doing or a lot of things hockey. And Blake, you texted me and Mike yesterday in a group text, and you were like, this team is fun. I'm really enjoying this. This team is legit. And honestly, Blake, to me, that's the number one sign that tells me that it's been a while, but I think there are a lot of people infected with Red Wing fever right now.
The way that they came out yesterday, just like with their hair on fire, it was just, especially coming off of the game on Thursday with the Patty Kane overtime winner, which I have a funny story about that I'll tell you about later.
All right.
But like those two games back to back, it's just like there's nothing better to just bring someone in that, you're right, isn't a hockey elitist, is just a casual fan. Like now, I think the Red Wings are like, you have to watch them. They're appointment television. You have to make time to watch their games and see if they can keep going on this run.
I think, like, Blake, honestly, for me, there is such, and I mean this in all sincerity, there is such a big difference between yeah, we're playing well and we're in the playoff mix and actually being entertaining to watch.
Mhm.
And I think for a while, and even at points last year, if we're being honest, when they kind of flirted before that home and home with Ottawa happened, a lot of times they weren't fun to watch. And they're at that point in time now where this is a fun team to watch. So when you get that double whammy going on where this is a legitimate playoff race now, okay? This isn't contrived. This isn't trying to force them in, so to speak. This is a legitimate playoff race. And you throw in the added bonus of them being enjoyable to watch, and they are. Well, you have what we have right here, right? And you get those non-hockey elite fans that, as you said, want in.
And they're not like these last two games, they're not beating like mediocre teams. They're beating a Colorado team that's really good, obviously. And then they play a St. Louis team that's right in the thick of the playoff race in the West. So you're playing like two good teams that it just adds everything up. It's fun, man. They're fun to watch.
It's interesting. We have some comments already. Jeff said, I feel like they can make a run. Lions is starting to be an elite goaltender. I am going to say this again. I don't know where this team would be without this guy. And I think for a good period of the season, he carried them. He really did. And now he's getting help from a myriad of places, including, I have to say this, the much maligned blue line, which really has not had a good year. Okay. If we're all being honest, and I think it's important to be honest when you're talking like this, it has not been a banner year for this blue line. But I think right now what you're seeing is you're seeing the units and in particular, a couple pairings start to step it up. My buddy Paul, nice to see Paul yesterday at a hockey game. Good afternoon, ladies. Wings looked great yesterday. Binnington also went Ben Bishop in the first period. He just wasn't sharp. Jim Lyon said, yes, he is playing excellent, but he is no relation, by the way. Yes, absolutely. But, really, it is a myriad of things. I think in particular, I'll go back to the blue line. I think Wallman and Mo is a pairing that has stepped up. Where is the ceiling with this team? I'm not going to get carried away. I know a lot of times when you get swept up in the euphoria of a playoff race, you get swept up in the euphoria of how well a team is playing. I'm not ready to say that there's a run in this team, Blake. I'm not there yet. I think there are a lot of things that kind of preclude me from saying that. One thing to add is Alex DeBrincat is going to start scoring goals again. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is a bonus. The question that I have is, do they have enough sandpaper to grind out a playoff series? Because the truth of the matter is in the National Hockey League, I think everybody knows this now. When the playoffs start, it really is almost like a different season. And all of a sudden, having those character guys and those sandpaper guys and the grinded out guys just becomes so important. Do the Red Wings have enough of that backbone, enough of that sandpaper to find a way to grind out a series, whether it be the Rangers or the Bruins or whatever the case may be? If, God forbid, they can catch the Leafs and perhaps have a series in the first round. Could you imagine against Florida, which showed everybody, their tenacity and their sandpaper in that run to the finals last year? That would be the question that I have about this team. I don't know the answer to that yet. We can all sit back and say, well, they're probably going to be out in the first round and everything. And I'm not going to begrudge one person for that. But that's one of those things that I think, Blake, they're going to have to show people.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. Like, what is the highest they can go and what's the lowest they can go? Because you would know better than me, but you basically just said you don't know. So I don't know who knows.
I don't. I listen. Are you asking me if I think the Red Wings are capable of even winning a couple rounds? I don't.
Okay.
Point blank. I don't think that. And it depends who they match up with in the first round. I mean, look, the first round, just by virtue of their seeding, is going to be a huge test. And as good as Alex Lyon has been, and I'm telling you right now, guys, Blake, you know this. I've been saying this back when we were doing the radio show, a couple months ago, before I got fired and everything. But I don't think that Alex Lyon is maybe getting the respect. And that's why I'm glad some of the people here in the chat are saying it. This guy's been huge. Now, the question is, can he continue it? He hasn't been asked to continue it in the past. I mean, if people remember, he really saved Florida last year, but it was, Bob that ended up taking that magical run and everything. So there's a lot of unknown in this, but I think right now, that's the big question to me is the sandpaper. Is this a team that can grind out, kind of that playoff win? I don't know. I don't know. I have my doubts.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just exciting to have another team going on a run and doing something and another team to root for, because Lord knows the Pistons aren't doing a damn thing.
Oh, we're going to get to that in just a second. Trust me. We're going to get
so
to that.
It's fun to have something to root for, because like for me as a Michigan fan, Michigan basketball is horrible.
Yeah.
The Pistons, like I said, which I'm not a huge NBA guy as it is, but the Pistons are unwatchable. So to have a product that's watchable and they're going on a run is just great this time of year, especially post football.
My buddy Paul said Lyon worked the same magic in Florida. Yes, he did. We were just talking about that. Hope he can be better in the playoff. Bruins lit him up. Bob stepped in, took over, did a nice job. Hey, listen, they don't get there without Lyon, though. Make no mistake about that. Give Bob his flowers. He deserves them. Coming in and going on that magical ride. Nobody thought that he was going to go on, let alone the Florida Panthers. But yeah, no question about it. Jim said, what I love to see yesterday was the improvement on puck possession. Can they continue it? No doubt about that. That was a staple for so many Red Wing teams for so long. And it was almost like, in my mind, you went back to an era of dump and chase. Honestly, how little they seem to have the puck. Tony, one of the Livonia legends, said, don't think they go far, but I guarantee nobody wants to play them. LCA is becoming a true home ice advantage. There it is again. I'm going to go back to the very beginning of what we talked about, Blake. Seriously. People are going to these games, and it's becoming a raucous crowd again.
That place was packed for a noon game yesterday.
Unbelievable.
Did you see, too, the Chicklets guys are, like, pushing for the Wings to get the next, like, all-star game?
I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great.
I didn't even think, like, they have a new arena and they haven't gotten one. That's crazy.
What is it, 1980? I think it's 1980 the last time it was in Detroit. It was right after the Joe Open, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how that works itself out. Let me see. Is there anything else I need to say before? Yeah, Paul, it's funny. I just mentioned this. He said, good news. Seider and Wallman are much better than they were 30 days ago. It's funny, Paul, we're on the same page. I brought that up to Blake about 5 minutes ago. The pairings, I'm watching the decor get better as the season goes on. Mo and Wallman. What's
Seider's peak? Like, can he be as good? Like, I told you the other night how much I think of like Cale Makar. Like, can he be like that elite defenseman? Or like a Victor Hedman type?
When you're I'm not going to go that high. I mean, Makar is a generational guy, and I don't use that term lightly. Can he be in the conversation eventually for Norris best defenseman? I think so. Yeah, I definitely think so. I think you can, but I mean, honestly, Makar's generational, and I hate using that term. Trust me, it's thrown around way too easily. We were having a conversation about this yesterday, and I know there are probably some people that are going to get mad at me for saying this, but I need to say this because it popped in my head, Blake, based on what we were just talking about. It's okay if a player is just a really good player. It's okay. I think the tendency sometimes for people in the hometown, and even, if there's a guy that they really like playing elsewhere, I think the tendency is to make a grandiose statement. And I say that in regards to Dylan Larkin. Like, my opinion on Dylan Larkin hasn't changed. He is a really good player. Like, I want Dylan Larkin on my team. Okay. Yeah. And sometimes when you have this conversation to people get like really mad. What are you talking about? He's just a really good player. Like, that's a bad thing. Don't you think that Larkin's great? I don't know. I always fall back to something that Matt Shepard said. And I always give him credit for this. I think great is thrown around too easily. We should call players great where you could talk to 100 people, whether it be in Montreal or Toronto or Colorado and LA, and you say the name and 100 people out of 100 are going to call that guy great. You know, and somehow there have been a few people out there, not a lot, but a few people out there. Dude, what's your problem with Larkin? Nothing. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Like, I want Dylan Larkin on my team. And I guess because I stopped short of calling him quote unquote great, people get agitated at that. Lynn said, we were far ahead in the game. No one left. The stands were full at the end of the game.
That's awesome.
I love seeing that. Blake, there was a time. I'm going to story time now. There was a time, Lo, when you were a young lad, where I'm not joking, a Friday night game, and I think a lot of the old school people can say, a Friday night game at the Joe was like a night on the town. Like, I'm not joking. It was like a place to see and be seen. It was phenomenal. And LCA hasn't had that yet. You know, there have been moments, they've been few and far between, but they were for other reasons, so to speak. I want people to go because that's the team, because they're fun to watch, because they're entertaining, because they've created a vibe. And there's a vibe going on right now. Make no mistake about that.
Real quick before you. So what I was going to tell you about that Thursday game. So one of my best friends, Nick, he was in the chat the other day. I don't know if you remember. So I FaceTimed him to talk to him about the Wings, and he answers, and he's at the game. So I'm like, oh, nice, you're at the game. He left with 8 minutes left.
Did he really?
So he missed the.
Wow.
I was like, buddy, what are you doing?
The Hockey Elite? Wow.
Yeah. He was like, he had to work that day. He was like, I was tired, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but you missed an incredible finish. So I've been giving him hell for it ever since.
Jim said Makar is a modern day Bobby Orr. He's generational. He is. I don't think there's any two ways about that. Hey, we're going to move on. I want to talk about it. We're going to start with hockey because I know there are people out there. Oh, is that all you guys are going to do is talk hockey? No, we're going to start with hockey, but I'm warning you right now. Like I said in the promo, Blake and I are going to devolve into college football real fast in this conversation. Mm-hmm. You have to trust me. Let me tell you about our friends, Lindsay Broadwell and everybody look at that. Isn't that great? On cue. There it is. Broadwell Homes, your neighborhood realtor. When it's time to get yourself a new house, whether you're buying, selling, both, whatever the case may be, you need to contact the agent that I recommend, and that is Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville. I'm familiar with them, and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business. And when it's time to move, you need to give our friend Lindsay and her team a call and make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly in the process. Buyers, sellers, first-time buyers, doesn't matter. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Paul, you know me. What is better than talking puck? Nothing. I'm going to talk some more puck later on in the show. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to do something right now. So, Blake, I was at 2 hockey games yesterday afternoon. I know, stunner. I came home and I'm not joking. I was exhausted and I was looking forward to going to bed. And then I noticed that the Battle of Alberta was on last night.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no way I was going to bed. It wasn't happening. I was going to stay up and I was going to watch Calgary and Edmonton. And I'll tell you what, those games never disappoint. They never, ever disappoint. And when Calgary and Edmonton was on, and I made the joke with a few of my friends today, I was gassed. I was like laying there and, Calgary Edmonton's on. I think I'm going to stay up for a little while. And it just doesn't disappoint. So I was thinking, knowing that you and I were going to chat, I'm assuming that most people watching this are fans of Detroit teams or Montreal team. I'm assuming that most of you, kind of feel the same way. Are there games in the sporting world that are not involving your teams that, like, every time they're on, you're like, okay, I got to make a point to watch this game? And like I said, I don't think it's going to take time for nerds like you and I to devolve this into a college football discussion. But I wanted to throw that out to you and, of course, all the people out there watching this right now as well.
Let me give you two not college football ones just so before we start divulging into that. And they're ones that ESPN shoves down our throats, but I'm an idiot, so I have to watch it. Boston, New York, Yankees, Red Sox.
I agree.
I agree. It doesn't matter. I have to watch it.
It started in 2004, that crazy 2004 season and everything, after what transpired in 2003. And it's just continued on. I feel the exact same way. And I understand that they're probably going to be 4-hour marathons, but I'm with you.
Yeah. And Duke, North Carolina.
Yep.
I have to tune in. There's something about it, the atmosphere, everything. They're always close games. Like the record for each team, like they're right within like one game. They're great games. ESPN shoves them down my throat, and I still enjoy them.
It's funny because I'm showing my age again, but I think there are going to be a lot of people out there. Back in the day, every time Georgetown and St. John played, Patrick Ewing was at Georgetown and Chris Mullen was at St. John. Can't miss television.
Yeah.
Like it was a couple of years, and this is when it was kind of had that new feel, if you will, of ESPN putting on like a real college basketball game on a Monday night. It, to me, like Blake, it was can't miss television. You knew when those two teams were getting together, and you knew you were going to be sitting down. All right, let's just avoid the
real quick. Also,
right.
Big East tournament. I love the whole Big East. It's the Big East tournament is the best college basketball conference tournament there is, hands down.
Am I allowed to say go Blue Devils? Can I throw out a go DePaul? I just want DePaul to rise again. It's so funny. Like years ago, they were such a good program. I explained that to my kid, and I felt like I was talking from the 1860s to him, and he's like, Dad, we suck. And I was like, I know, but years ago they were really good.
The Big East is awesome. Have you ever watched that ESPN 30 for 30?
Phenomenal.
It's so good.
It's such a good.
I watch it every March.
All right, programming note. Okay, this is just Blake and I talking right now.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have a 30 for 30 discussion about some of the great 30 for 30s. Let's remember that. Like on a slow day. Gosh, there's definitely so many. Pete got us started. Pete said Auburn, Alabama is insane. I've seen the Iron Bowl in person. And I know people don't like when I say this, but if you haven't seen it up close and personal yourself, you don't get it. I know that we're pretty big college fans up here. It is something different down there. You're going to have to trust me.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to trust me. And I know you're not going to believe me. I know so many people have called me out for that. Until you go and see a game like that down there, it's just different. I don't even know how to explain it. It is just different. He went to UGA, Florida in Jacksonville. Best experience ever. World's largest outdoor cocktail party. Just the name alone, Blake, screams beauty,
Yeah. Yeah, no, both of those are definitely on my list. The Iron Bowl, and it's always coming right after the Michigan-Ohio State game. That whole day is just glorious.
It really is
beautiful. But when I think Florida, Georgia, I think, do you remember the Stafford team with no Sean Moreno.
Yes.
And they scored the touchdown and the whole team came out on the field and
Yes.
celebrated.
Yes.
I was like, this is awesome.
Magical.
This is college football.
Magical. Hubie said the 30 for 30 that needs to be done is UNLV hoops. I will go to my grave saying that was fixed. And I'm not fixed guy. I'm not conspiracy theorist guy, Blake. I will go to my grave saying when Duke beat them in 91, that was fixed. I have my reasons. I'll leave it at that. But I will go to my grave saying that was
my
fixed.
dad is 100% fixed guy.
Is he really
fixed? Yes.
Okay.
Every single game.
Oh,
I get very angry with him about it.
Yeah. Pete said I went in 2009. Tebow Stafford. Urban Meyer was up 35 points and called a timeout in the fourth quarter.
That was the year before the game I was talking about, and that's why they did that.
So good. So good. I'm all right. I'm going to go first, and because I know that you're going to, I know there's one in particular that we're both sad is going the way of the dodo bird. I'll save that for you though. The Egg Bowl. It is unbelievable. Mississippi State. It is incredible. I don't think the average human knows what it means to those people down there. I don't think the average human being understands the parties down in Oxford. It is one of the most unique places I've ever been. And if you've never heard of the Grove, just look it up. You'll thank me later. If you get a chance to go, like you'll thank me later. Trust me. So like with that being said, like Blake, that's one Mississippi State. I never miss it. Even when they're two crappy teams, which we've seen very often in the past. Mississippi State never miss that game. All right.
Red River.
There you go.
Red River.
It's awesome.
If you don't bet the over in Red River every single year, you're an idiot. I bet the under. I bet the under one time, and it went over in the first half. That game, there's always crazy points. But I know which one you're talking about, and it involves one of those teams, and it's Bedlam.
What a shame! What a shame! And you know what? For the older generation out there, do you know what this reminds me of? Like Pete and some of the other guys out there, because I've talked to Pete for years. There has been a massive void in college football when Oklahoma, Nebraska went away. Massive void. Like Blake, I know to you it's only something that you read about or heard about. Like Oklahoma, Nebraska was can't miss television for years, and the hatred between those two. And I think it's such a shame that something like Bedlam's going away. It's such an absolute shame that we're not going to see that anymore, man.
I agree. And I don't know why, but in my head, every single Bedlam game has been at Oklahoma State at night.
At night. Yeah. At night.
And it's the darkest sky you've ever seen in your life. And like the lighting there kind of stinks, but there's just points. And but that's what, you know what? Shout out those Pac-12 teams that are coming to the Big Ten. They all signed deals with their rivals that didn't come. Like Oregon's still playing Oregon State every year. Washington's still playing Washington State. They all signed deals to keep those rivalries alive. And that's the right way to do it.
Miami, Florida State for years was can't miss television. I'm going to jump to the NFL really quickly, if I may. I still love the Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. It always seems to me like somebody gets their face caved in or a punctured spleen or something. You just know that those two teams are just going to punch each other in the face repeatedly for 60 minutes. That's one of those NFL games. Oh, cool. Steelers Ravens on. You know what I mean? Yeah. I make a point to check that one out.
Chiefs Bills, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen.
You know what, though?
Always awesome games.
It's almost, but that's almost turned into a rerun because it's almost like, how is Patrick Mahomes going to break Josh Allen's heart in this game? You know what I mean? It seems like it ends the same way every darn single time, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, it's still like you're watching two elite quarterbacks just do it's
do
great
crazy
to watch.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, can we talk about Legacy, our friends at Legacy, very quickly before we move on to some other things? Did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy Partners are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents and provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large or small. These are great guys. I 100% vouch for them. Joe and Alex and Dave, who is college football elite, I might add as well. Dave is all hockey fans as well, so that's a bonus. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get you the right coverages put in place to properly protect you and save you money at the same time. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're paying too much and you could be underinsured. What are you waiting for? Give my friends at Legacy Partners a chance to help you with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Give them a call today, 586-209-4106. That's 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quote. So, Blake, so many things going on today that I like. You brought this up earlier before we talk about an incredible performance that I saw yesterday, and I don't use that word lightly. You brought this up yesterday. So here we are, okay? The Lions are legitimate. You're in kicking and screaming, but you're in, right?
I was on a 1-year deal, but
okay.
we'll see.
But okay, moving forward to 2024.
Yeah.
You who didn't want to be in, you can say the Lions are in, right?
Yeah, they're a very good team.
Legit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Wings, in my mind, I think they're quote unquote back. I think we can say that now. And I think the trajectory is going to go accordingly. We can agree with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Pistons. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, they're dead.
The Detroit Tigers. What is the average non-baseball elite person feeling about the Detroit Tigers? Like, I'm going to use you, Blake, as our patient zero here. Mm-hmm. Where are you at in regards to your excitement about the Detroit Tigers right now?
It's non-existent.
Nothing?
I got nothing. I really don't. They're just not, like, we talk about young, fun, exciting teams, like with the Wings, players that you know and recognize and are like up and coming. Oh, who's that guy on the Tigers? Riley Green? That's it?
Torque? Torque do anything for you?
I just feel like I know Torque is gonna, like, his ceiling isn't that high.
Okay. Skubal, who was phenomenal down the stretch last year, I think is on the cusp of the G word. I do. I really, nothing for you. You have to see it first.
Yeah, I'm not a seam head, so I can't like say for sure yes or no. But like, still, okay. So we're talking two guys, and and with those two guys, I'll raise you Javi Baez. Yeah, we still have to deal with that. And this is coming from a Cubs fan. When he was great with the Cubs. No, I'm good.
Was he tough? John Watson said, happy beef jerky Sunday, making jerky all day. Yeah, save some for me, John. Okay.
Yeah, send some my way too. Thanks,
that'd be nice. Well, this is where I'm going to go with the Tigers. I think the Tigers, Kerry Carpenter, Dave brings up another one. Kerry Carpenter was a great story. I think a lot of people wonder aloud if there's quote unquote staying power. Colt Keith is another one of those guys that, well, we've heard so much about, but I think we need to see it here. I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine who's a huge, like, Tiger fan first yesterday. And I think for me, of course, you'd love to see the Tigers compete in the Central. And I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to begrudge winning a division, right? How do you begrudge that? Even if it is by far the worst division, you're never going to begrudge it. I think I want to be excited about the team as opposed to the brutality of the division. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
My excitement, Blake, I don't want it to come from, well, they got a chance because this division blows. No, I want my excitement to be derived because, man, look at this. Look at Kenta. Look at Flaherty. Wow, Casey Mize is back and he's dealing. Oh, Scooble's doing exactly what I thought he would do. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of times people excitement, at least with the people that I talk to, Blake, their excitement is coming from this division being less than as opposed to what the Tigers could be.
Yeah. No, which I mean makes sense. I mean, but it's just like for me, not being like a diehard baseball guy, you got to give me players that I'm excited to watch day in and day out. And it's just they don't have a lot of guys that move the needle yet.
You're the guy I'm talking to then. And I'm serious when I say that. You're the guy that I'm talking to because this goes back to the Red Wing conversation at the beginning of the show. That's when you start bringing in the masses, when you can't, I'll never forget going back to 2006. Okay. So by that time we had tickets for, I think, a couple years, right? And it's a random Wednesday night against the Astros in like late June, if memory serves me right. I mean, it's 18 years ago now. And the place was absolutely packed. Comerica Park was absolutely packed. And you know as well as I do, the only time that it's packed in the summertime for years running now is a Friday game or a Saturday game because a lot of people use it as an excuse to go out and party in the outfield. Have a blast, right? But it was this random Wednesday night game, and it was absolutely packed. And I swear to God, at that moment, I was like, okay, they've arrived. They've arrived. And we know what happened in 2006, made it all the way to the World Series, et cetera, et cetera. They have to find a way to do exactly what you just said. Get the people like Blake who have, their plate full, their sports plate full with a bunch of other things. They have to find a way to get people excited. And I just don't think the average sports fan is excited about the Detroit Tigers right now.
No. Yeah.
We'll wait and see.
We need some names. We need some dudes.
No question. I don't think there's any debate. Can I tell you about my dudes at Wealth Advantage? What a cheesy radio segue that was.
That.
Wasn't that cheesy, dude?
I like.
Come on. Mike and Jeff Husak are, well, you can see him right there. See Mike, handsome guy on the left, Jeff, handsome guy on the right. Not only are they the brains behind the Wealth Advantage Group, they are friends of mine. They are our financial advisor. And if you are ready to take charge of your financial look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group, located in historic downtown Northville, owned by those guys, two brothers with over 20 years of industry experience. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, already in retirement, doesn't matter. They can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in over 20 states. The investment world, it's a complex one. So if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it might be a good time to work with the experts and reach out to my friends at Wealth Advantage Group. 248-773-8574. That's 248-773-8574. Or view their website at www.thewealthadv.com. So there you have it. It'll be very interesting to see what transpires with the Tigers. And Jeff and Mike, hopefully we can go down to a game this year. Tony said Reese Olson. There's another one. I think, Tony, you know what? There's a big question about Mize, Reese Olson. Okay, how's that going to work itself out? I think the average fan needs to see it. I know you have tickets. I think the average fan needs to see it. Tony said, I really think this will be my last year as a partial season ticket holder. I wish I never got rid of them, but we had to get rid of them because when my son went off to DePaul, he was the resident baseball fan, and I knew there was no way in Hades the girls were going to go. We go to a game or two every year and have a good time, but it wasn't like, going to 35 games again. But the average fan needs to see Reese Olson. I think this franchise blew they blew it big time by taunting all these prospects for so many years. I really do. Because when they don't pan out, I think a lot of people sit back and go, oh, it's the Tigers chirping about another guy again. I mean, how many guys for years, especially the early years of the Avila deal, ooh, Al got this prospect and that prospect that turned into absolutely nothing. So I think a lot of people are almost like doubting Thomases right now that are like, nah, I'm just going to pass and wait to see what this Colt Keith is or wait to see what this Reese Olson is. And how can you blame somebody for feeling that way?
Yeah, why get in? It's the same as the Lions. Why get in when you just got to get in at the right time?
Unless you
enjoy the ride.
Unless you have two mean people who made you get in. Lomas and I kind of made you get in. Let's be honest.
You 100% made me get in.
But you know what, though? You threw the terms out there. You were like, I'll be in if they win a playoff.
And I thought for sure they were losing to the Rams. There was no doubt in my mind.
I told you point blank, you and I had conversations in like November and early December where I was like, I don't think they're going to win a playoff.
Is it weird how their whole like secondary staff got canned?
It's weird. Incredible. Yeah. Amazing how that works out. All right. So yesterday I wanted to ask everybody this. This is something that I'm asking people that you've seen in person. So yesterday I was at 2 high school hockey games. You guys know I'm involved with that. I love it. It's a blast. It really is a passion of mine, and do a bunch of stuff for state champs. But Blake, I was at Novi in Northville. Northville knocks off Novi, and I was at Brighton and Ann Arbor Pioneer. And it was funny, before the game started, one of the parents, and I'm not going to say who, but one of the parents for the Ann Arbor Pioneer team was sitting near me. And he goes, so who's the guy that I need to keep an eye out for? And I go, well, keep an eye out on, I named a couple players. One of the players that I said was 16. And he goes, oh, I remember him last year. I think he had a hat trick against us. I said, yeah, he's a pretty good player. Blake, Brighton went on to win 9-1. And 16, kid by the name of Cameron Duffney had 7 goals. 7.
That's filthy.
7. And here's another term that is overused: a man amongst boys. He was a man amongst boys. It was every time he touched the puck, it almost looked like he was from a different universe. Like it was just one of those nights. So much so that his teammate, another great kid, a kid by the name of Lane Petit, after the game, I saw him after the game, and his eyes got wide, like really wide. And you got to remember, this is his buddy, his teammate. Lane, by the way, probably one of the top 10 players in the state. His eyes got really big, and he goes, how good was Duff? Like he was, like it really was like a state of amazement. And I'm not overstating this. It was awesome to watch it in person, because Blake, there's nothing like seeing a guy, and you can use whatever term you want, in the zone, feeling it, whatever. There's nothing like seeing that in person. When he transcends those around him, the level around him, and just turns into something else. And again, this is one of the best players in the state. But like what I saw yesterday was like kind of next level, where it was like, oh my gosh, like what happened? There's like a heavenly glow around him and everything. It was really, really cool to see. Craig, thank God you got off the baseball talk. Now I can listen. That's outstanding.
Lane Petit is an all-time hockey name.
Oh, Lane Petit.
That is a hockey player
name too. Yeah, he's yeah.
Like if you asked me, what does Lane Petit do? Oh, he plays hockey. 100%.
Craig also added, Duffney is the cousin of one of my players at St. Mary's Girls. Total hockey family. His cousin started the girls varsity hockey team at the University of Alabama. That's awesome. Props to the girls as well, Craig. I know you're involved. Great to see some of those games. Get out there and support those games as well, as they are really building that product. But Blake, with that in mind, I knew you and I were going to talk about this today. I wanted to ask you and others out there, and I'm talking in person with your own 2 eyes, not watching on television. You're at the game. You're seeing, what are some of the most incredible performances you've ever seen? And I was at the Justin Verlander no-hitter game, so sorry, I got to throw that out there. And I'm not
cool.
No, listen, I'm not joking. Like in the 6th inning, this buzz kind of went around all of Comerica Park. Like there was just this buzz.
Mhm.
And it was a pretty good crowd that night. I think it was a Tuesday night, as I recall. And I remember looking at my son and saying, "Hey, Jack, take a look at the scoreboard," like that. You know, shh, we're not allowed to talk. He's got a no-hitter and everything.
Mhm.
But I think everybody kind of knew, okay, we're watching something special, because he was just, again, that glow around, oh, he's from a different planet or anything. So I wanted to ask you, what is an incredible individual performance that you've seen with your own two eyes?
I don't have any like individual ones that like pop off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
To be totally honest. The one that like the game that I was at that like really sticks out was I was at when the Wings won to break like the home win streak record, which like at my age I was like, that was really cool. Now looking back on it, I'm like, what a lame record to have. But I was at that game and that place was incredible that night. But that's the only one that like in my head like pops off. You've obviously been to a lot more games and had a lot more opportunity to see like great performances like that than I have. So
it's, you know what, I don't see it often, because and you're kind of an old soul, whether you want to admit it or not. More often than not, I'd rather stay at home and watch games now. That's as I've gotten older. It's just like, I love going to the game and take my kids to a game, whatever the case may be. But like the boys and I, very rarely it's like, hey, do you want to go to a game? No, I don't want to go. No, I don't want to go to a game. Hubie, I never knew this. Hubie was at Fedorov's 5-goal game between Christmas and New Year's, as I recall. Yeah, when a guy's doing that at that level, dude, it's insane. Galarraga's 28 out perfect.
This guy was at both of those?
Dude.
Jim, you got the hookup for the tickets, huh?
That was I still just watch that and my heart breaks for that poor kid. Like honestly, to this and conversely, my heart breaks for Jim Joyce as well, because unlike most umpires, he actually owned it after the fact. Remember the teary speech? I blew it for that kid. It's like, guess what? You're going to be remembered for that. That's why I feel sorry for the dude. I mean, it just, he owned it, and sometimes owning it isn't enough. He's going to be remembered for that. But Blake, for me, like that was kind of the feeling when I got watching that game last night. I mean, this kid was on such a different level, and it wasn't just Pioneer; it was his own teammates. I mean, and Brighton's a wagon. I mean, they've got a ton of talent. He was just on a different level. Like I was with both of them, Coach Hunter and Barbecue Mike, and you just knew. You were like, "going, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, that's 6." Every time he was on the ice, it was just you knew. There was a chance of something happening. And I don't care what anybody says. Don't get me wrong. When you're watching a game at home, of course you can get, a good feel of what's going on. There's nothing like seeing those moments in person. There's there's a different vibe. There's a different feel. There's no way Maglio's home run in 2006 would have the impact on me that it does today, especially when it sailed both over Jack and in my head. Seeing it in person is different. I don't know how to explain it. It just is. And I kind of got that feeling yesterday. No joke. I kind of got that feeling, watching a kid just transcend in front of everybody and pump 7 goals in. And it was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that is the one that I wish I was at.
Yeah.
The one that like sticks out to me, like Trey Burke against Kansas. Like when he just went
unbelievable.
He was
unbelievable.
That game was awesome.
Can you, dude, think about that. That's what, 11 years ago now. Where did time go?
I know.
Like I joke about it all the time. Like there was like this 10-year period that went, wait a second, wasn't it like 2013, 2 weeks ago? Like, what are we doing here?
Thanks, COVID. I blame COVID.
Isn't it? I'm not going to argue too much with that. I mean, okay, now think about that. That's like 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
What?
I think that's around when we met, like right before COVID.
We true story. Do you remember this? Before I got fired by WJR.
Yeah.
We were the last show before they kind of shut the station.
Oh yeah.
You remember
With
that?
McCarty.
With McCarty. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny because the reason why I remember that so well is they said, make sure you get all your stuff. We're going to try to do this remotely. We don't want anybody in and everything. It was also the day of the D2 semifinals. And I was doing play-by-play for both of those games. And I just gotten off the phone with an MHSAA official. Kirk was at the game yesterday, by the way. He said he was 3 steps above yesterday. I mentioned Coach Hunter. There he is. Yes, that's a great. He was on a different place. But Blake, getting back to that story, we did that show knowing full well that we probably weren't going to see each other for at least a couple weeks, and we know how that turned out.
Yeah.
But I talked to an MHSAA official on the way home, and I said, "Are we still planning to do this? You know, the games down at USA Hockey Arena? That's where they have the finals." And he was like, "Yeah, we're planning. We're going to try to cram them in. We're going to try to speed everything up." So, in the time that it took me to drive home from the Fisher Building to Northville and shower up and put on my suit, which is always funny to see me in a suit. They changed. I know they changed it. Don't you remember, like on Fox 2 and everything? I still look at some of that and I'm like, how the hell did that happen? What the hell were they thinking?
That's not the Sean I know.
Yeah, but literally, so you're talking about a 45-minute span. I got downstairs, was all in the suit, getting ready to make the 3-mile drive. I live 3 miles away from the rink, and the phone call came in, and they said, we're going to postpone this. And I said, are you postponing it or are you canceling it? And he said, we're going to call it postponed for now, but, you know, I think you see the way that things are going. And it's unfortunate for all those kids in 2020. They never got a chance to play that tournament. But, yeah, that was...
Did I ever tell you where I was like that day?
Where were you at?
So that was the day of the opening of all the sports books. And KB and I were at MGM, and I met like Jerome Bettis. That was the first time I met Lomas. There was a bunch of athletes down there that I met. But yeah, we were at the casino, and then literally the next day, the world shut down. Yeah,
that's right.
And I'd placed my first legal wagers, and then I never got to cash those tickets for like 2 years.
Wow. Yeah, our engineer like literally told Mac and I when we got off, he goes, you're going to be the last show here for, you know, at least a while. And literally we know how long a while turned out to be because they shut everything down. And quite frankly, they allowed us to do shows the way that, well, we're doing this show right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we lived on StreamYard, Blake. I mean, we really did. And
yeah.
Thankfully you got a chance to get to know it. Ryan said, I was also at JV's no-hitter versus the Bruins. Franzen's game 4 versus San Jose, 4 goals, 6 points. Best one I experienced in person, game 7, 1991 World Series. Jack Morris, 10 innings of shutout baseball. Smoltz not too shabby either with 8 innings of shutout baseball. Ryan, you were there. You know what I remember about that? That was, the magical 91 Lions season. They pounded the Cowboys the first time that day. And then my buddies and I, and yes, Barbecue Mike was one of them, went back to my house and watched that game in its entirety. And it was, it's obviously one of the most legendary baseball games ever. It really was. So, all right. Hey, listen, before we get out of here, can I tell you about the upcoming week for our friends with the Rockers, Motor City Rockers, exciting hockey action. Make sure you go check them out at Big Boy Arena. Your tickets are available right now. They got a big weekend coming up. 2 home tilts. They have the Wytheville Blue Ridge Bobcats coming in. 7:35 puck drop on Friday night. And then a return engagement less than 24 hours later at Big Boy Arena, as once again they take on the Wytheville Blue Ridge Bobcats. 6:05 start on Saturday as well. So you got to love it with the Motor City Rockers when you get those weekends. Like this past weekend, 3 home games at Big Boy Arena, 2 home games next week. Make sure you check them out. All right, Blake, we got to get out of here. Any final thoughts from you before?
Yeah, are you grilling today?
You know what I did today? I did some buffalo chicken kebabs that were pretty darn good.
No,
They were.
I gotta
pretty
run up
darn-
to the meat market and get some chicken so that I have food for the week.
We
That's the
have
plan.
to figure out when we're going to have a big barbecue where we can taunt everybody out there in viewer land as well and take pictures of all the meats and
Mhm.
everything. I heard a rumor you and Mike were talking about like maybe the first day of the tournament doing something like that.
Yeah,
Right. Good.
we're
good.
gonna try and make something happen. Like either that Wednesday before, we'll do like a show and talk about all the money we're gonna lose.
Yeah. Patrick Waugh's last game in Montreal, you were there. Such a mean guy to bring that up. Such a mean. You know what's funny about this? I say this to people all the time, and I actually had a conversation, sorry to name drop, with Scotty Bowman about it. Really and truly.
Ooh.
Say that game never happened. Let's
Yeah.
play a game of pretend that game never happened. Patrick Waugh never ever gets traded to the Colorado Avalanche.
Hmm.
How many more Stanley Cups do the Wings win? Seriously, think about it.
Yeah.
Because nobody's beating them in 96. Nobody's beating them that year. The only team that was going to beat them was Patrick Waugh and the Colorado Avalanche. So nobody's beating them in 96. I contend, this was my personal feeling, and I've had numerous Wings from that team say, I'm not so sure about that, but I contend that it could have been 4 in a row. Really, really and truly. I think it could have been 4 in a row. 96, they already won in 97, they already won in 98, and maybe 99. Although that Dallas team was so good, but anybody with half a brain in their head knows that Ed Belfour is just waiting to blow up like, well, Binnington or Bishop or whatever the case may be. I've had unnamed players, because I'm not going to say who, but I've had guys from that team say we were out of gas. I don't think we would have done it in 99. We ran out of gas, and that's why we kind of fell apart in that second round series against Colorado. But isn't that weird, Blake? I mean, this moment that everybody remembers probably cost the Wings 2, maybe 3 more cups. Isn't that weird how that works out?
Yeah, but at the same time, it also created like one of the best rivalries
Sure did.
in all of sports, and probably the biggest in Detroit sports.
Yeah,
So.
sure did. Craig said girls quarterfinals are before them at the high school hockey. Starts at 10 a.m. and runs all day. Some great games, no doubt about that. Like to see that. I like those weekends where they have, the games on one rink, the games on the other rink. It's just a blast to say this. Mike chimes in. Barbecue betting. Listen, for all our viewers out there, and you let us know, I'm trying to talk Blake and Mike into doing a degenerate show. I really am. Just once a week, I'll go hide. Let Mike and Blake just do the degenerate show where you guys can do nothing but talk gambling the whole show. You let me know when you guys want to do that. I think it'd be fun for people out there.
Yeah. No, we're going to figure it out. It's this time of the year is kind of weird, but I definitely think with March Madness coming up, and then once the NHL playoffs are kicking off too, all that stuff, it's easy to talk about.
We went too long again. Can you believe that? Melissa said, would they have run out of gas if Waugh was still on the team? I think you could be right, Sean. It's a good question. I think they were running out of gas anyway. When you play that much hockey, when you play that much playoff hockey, like I'll use Tampa a couple years ago as an example, right? When they went on their little run, I think flat out they ran out of gas against Colorado. And I'm not taking anything away from Colorado, especially Makar was on a different level. But I think when you play that much hockey, that many years in a row, I think it takes its toll. I wouldn't be surprised if the Wings obviously got to the conference finals. Would they have enough gas to take out that Dallas Stars team? I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question, but there were a couple people that agreed with me that it probably would have been 2 or 3 more Stanley Cups. Hey, Blake, we went too long. Imagine that.
I know. I can't wait we're going to I'm just delaying until I have to get off and go watch Michigan lose to Purdue.
All right.
Zach Edey.
All right. So
great.
we'll catch up soon. Lots to talk about. More NFL draft. Want to talk about our friends, of course, with the Detroit Sports Commission as well. Make sure, and I keep saying this before we get out of here today, Blake, make sure, as excited as we all are for the draft coming up, I want to make sure that you go to visitdetroit.com/2024 NFL draft and download the free NFL One Pass. It is imperative that you do that. Do that. It's free, but it's going to make your life a lot easier for when the draft is downtown. So saith our friends from the Detroit Sports Commission. They're great guys doing so much to bring so many events in here. So certainly want to get into that. All right, Blake, you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Bye.
Go Blue.
Off the Air with Sean Baligian, featuring Sean Baligian and Blake Matrazak. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazak. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Play It Loud by Jam Studio. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Off the Air with Sean Baligian on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.